If you're frustrated with the amount of jobs you're winning and you often lose jobs to other companies and you don't understand why, you may be missing the secret weapon to sales success. Now tune into this episode where we outline the secret to excellent sales and to winning more quotes and bids than you ever thought possible. Now here's a hint. When you hear the secret, you'll think it's so obvious that you'll kick yourself for not doing it sooner. If you're struggling with getting enough work, have a really hard look at your sales process and figure out where you can make it faster, because
you're not just first in against your competitors, you're first in against the competitors you don't even know about.
And you might be like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm pushy and stuff. It's like, hang on guys, this is business, it's not tiddlywinks.
They've already said yes to your price before your competitors even go back to them. So if you're faster than everybody else, you're actually the only option for a good amount of time.
The quicker you can get this done, the more results you're going to have. It's really, really simple. Welcome to the Profitable Tradie Podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones, your host, with my good mate Phil Smith tuning in.
G'day.
All right.
Should we jump into it?
Yeah. It's all about speed, so let's get going.
Yeah, speed kills. All right, cool. So picture this. You're battling to win your quotes and bids. You're absolutely struggling. You can't understand why your clients won't get back to you or why clients are using other less reputable businesses for their work. It's just absolute torture.
Yeah, you're trying hard, but you're not winning.
You're not winning.
Turns out that there's actually a secret characteristic that all sales guns know and that they have, and the people who crush this, and that is speed to sale. Speed counts here, so the quicker you can get this done in the sales process, the more results you're going to have. It's really, really simple. So the pod today really looks at why speed is so important, the psychology of sales and speed, because there's actually quite a lot of psychology to this underneath. As with all sales, it's kind of a mind game. And then we dig into what you can actually do to be faster, because there is some stuff that you can do which really makes a huge difference, and it'll literally supercharge the amount of jobs that you get, the quotes and bids that people say yes to. So it's juicy.
Yeah, should be good. All right, well, let's get into a story to kick us off.
I do have a story. It's a tasty story today.
Ooh,
I'm
delicious.
feeling peckish even thinking about this one. Back in the 60s, in a town called Ypsilanti in Michigan, there was a guy called Tom Monahan, and he ran a small pizza shop. It was called Domino's.
Hey.
There you go. And at the time, pizza delivery was really slow. People would, wonder if they're going to get their pizza, when they're going to get it. It was really unpredictable. Often people would order and wait for hours. It was a bit of a nightmare. And so Monahan saw a real good opportunity. He was like, actually, speed is what's really important here. And so he developed this incredible guarantee, 30 minutes or it's free. So if you don't get your pizza in 30 minutes, then it's free. And that guarantee literally changed everything. Suddenly, Domino's wasn't just selling pizza; they were selling convenience, reliability, all that sort of stuff. And people didn't have to wonder where their food was going to show up. They knew it would be hot and fresh, and they'd get it, and they can plan their evening or whatever around actually getting the pizza on time. Now, as we know, the results are incredible. Domino's just absolutely exploded. It's all around the place now, and it's super, super successful. They're just they've dominated this industry and set the scene for it as well. And that speed imperative is so critical for them, but it also applies, in your contracting, your tradie business. So what we're going to dig into is how you're just going to make more sales if you get good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if we're not fast, if we're dragging the chain, so to speak, in our sales process, we run into some issues.
We do. Well, the first thing is I think you just lose sales. And you don't even realize, you just don't win as many jobs as you should. And on top of that, you actually end up wasting marketing spend. So you might spend money, on Google ads or other media, newspaper, radio, whatever it is. If you still do the newspaper, they still exist, maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they exist.
Whatever, but you'll spend money on this stuff, and you'll be so slow with your sales process that the money you spend is wasted because, people go and choose someone else. In fact, often you might get the first phone call, but you can't take it, and they'll ring three other people from the Google ads, and you've missed out. You've wasted the money. So that happens a lot. You waste time too. So what happens is you might be slow to get your pricing done, but you do get it done, but you don't win because you were slow. Yeah. And so that's a double loss.
Yeah.
You've lost the ad spend, you've lost the time you spent doing it. And you get frustrated. You can't understand why you're actually not getting responses. You're getting lots of no's or people not getting back to you. And then you start this whole downward spiral. It's like, well, is it me? Oh, it must be the price. I'm too dear. That's why they're not saying yes. And so you start discounting based on a fallacy of assumption, which is that you're too expensive, which may not be that at all. It's probably because you're just too slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a real problem.
Yeah, whereas on the other hand, if we can get that speed in there, we have some pretty big upsides.
Yeah, well, it's really simple. The science tells us that you'll just win more jobs if you're quick, everything else being equal. You'll get great return on your ad spend, so you're more likely to recoup the spend that you have by being fast. And that's important because marketing can be really expensive. You won't waste time on pricing work that people are going to say no to because you're too slow. You price it, you win it, done. It's so frustrating when you price work and don't win it. So you want to make sure that as much as possible you do win. And it's going to give you a lot of confidence because you'll pick up the momentum of sales, you'll get work coming in, you'll feel confident that you can grow your business because you've got a good steady pipeline of work. And it's I guess the other thing is, you'll actually start to win work and it'll be based on your speed and price won't be such an issue because there's no doubt the quicker you are, that does actually mean you can get a better margin because people are making some assumptions about your speed and they're looking less at the price.
Well, not to mention that often they've already said yes to your price before your competitors even go back to them. So if you're faster than everybody else, you're actually the only option for a good amount of time. And so it's actually a lot less price competitive.
I mean, and literally we could finish the podcast right now because that is basically the thing. It's first in, best dressed. If you're there, you get the price in front of someone, get them to say yes before anyone else has been there. There is no competition and price is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we have to feel like we're doing a job. And there's a bit more to talk about, so
shall we keep picking that apart? In terms of first in, first serve. Why don't we pick that apart?
Yeah, look, it's just about logistics, isn't it? If you get there first and you put on a reasonable show and you look professional and you look like the business and someone's got a problem to solve, often you're just going to get the job before anyone else even shows up. And I can remember an early client, Mike, had a plumbing business. And to his benefit, actually, he came from a family of plumbers, but he was not a plumber. He was actually the GM and the estimator of this business. So he couldn't actually go and do any of the work. Well, he could do some stuff, but really that wasn't what he was doing. And so when people would ring up, first thing he'd do is just get in the van, go out and see them, price the job, book it in, and so many times he would have his invoice paid before the other people had even responded to the job. He'd have the invoice out. It's all done in 2 or 3 days. And other people would still be following up to do a site visit.
Yeah.
And it just staggered me. I mean, it's obvious now, but that was early days. And I remember that lesson. You can actually get paid before anyone else has even called back and even done a visit or given a quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's at the basic level what it's about.
Well, I think there's actually quite a lot to that as well. Because, I mean, firstly, it could be before somebody else gets back to you, but secondly, it's before they make other decisions. So if we think about stuff which is, reactive maintenance work, any kind of emergency, I mean, speed is obviously, first in is going to have a real good look in because they're just going to pick the first person because they want this process underway so someone can get there. But then speed will also, really work for the first in for, things which are nice to have. So if you think about someone who's buying solar or someone who's, going to get a whole new landscaping sort of situation done and you redo the entire garden, stuff like that, things that are nice to have, we often think our competitor is someone else in similar work. So if I get in early, I might get in before the other landscaper or the other solar company. When in reality, your biggest competitor, if you're in that type of work, is actually other things they could do with the money. For example, a holiday overseas. Because if I'm going to spend $100,000, redoing my entire landscape, I could also take my entire family around the world twice. And so, for a decent amount of time. And so the reality is that getting in quick means you're striking while the iron's hot, while they're still keen on the landscape before they realize, we could go around the world twice. So, the speed there, the first in, you're not just first in against your competitors, you're first in against the competitors you don't even know about, which is everything else they could do with the money. And I think that's really important.
It's a great insight. And you're first in against that force of resistance that everyone has because they get excited about it. We all do it. And then if we don't keep that momentum going, it just dies. It happens all the time. So you'll keep that momentum going. So, yeah, love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, second one for me, I mean, speed, I think it really demonstrates professionalism and competence. So, if you're fast and you're solving somebody's problem really quickly, then there's way less anxiety from that client. So, again, if I've got a problem in my house or even just something that's been bugging me for a while, then I'm the quicker that gets solved, the less anxiety I feel about it. So if I've been dwelling on how the lights always flickering in my kitchen for a long time, I don't feel as gutted about that the first time I notice it as I do when it's been 6 months and it's really pissing me off. And if my toilet is overflowing, trust me, it's never going to hurt more than when it's been overflowing for longer. So the quicker you can solve their problem, the less anxiety they got, and also the less anxiety that they have around waiting for you. So, if you're back to them quickly, even just with your communication, even if you can't get to the job, regardless of who your client is, if you can't get there quickly, if you're just back to them quickly and you're communicating quickly, then they're not sitting around waiting, hoping that you're going to get back to them and like, hey, is someone going to help me or not? And so you really can show that professionalism, and you can, actually really create a great experience for your client. Next thing is, really, slow service on the other hand is going to make them question your competence, which is the other side of the coin. So should we dig into that?
Yeah. I mean, you bang on. Like, if you think about if you've rung someone, even if it is it's a more of a luxury purchase or a thing that's going to take some time. If they take 2 weeks to get back to you, you've forgotten about them, and it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Versus someone who rings you back the same day, it's just night and day, because you're in your mind making judgments about their competence and their organisation, and there's I firmly believe as people are in small things, they are in big things, and this is where this plays out. So probably feels like a small thing how quickly you respond, but it's actually a huge thing, because they'll make judgments on you and your service delivery based on the way and the speed with which you get in touch.
Yeah, well, if I ask you whether I can buy something off you and you don't reply for a week, what that tells me is that when I ask you to come and fix a problem that you created in my house, you might not reply for a month. That's what it says. Whereas if I call you and I'm trying to book a job in, and you can get that sorted for me like in a very short amount of time, what it tells me is if there's any issues, you'll also be very responsive and you'll be straight on it. And so not only am I more likely to buy, I'm more likely to have less buyer's remorse and less doubt about you and your after service and repeat purchases and basically everything else as well. So it really does say a lot about you, the way that the speed in which you can respond.
It does, and I think of the phrase first impressions count. They really do here. We shouldn't judge a book by a cover, but we all do. We judge people we see by the way they look and they present themselves. We do, and we judge people by the type of car they have and the type of house they have and all of that sort of stuff, even the type of clothes. We know we shouldn't, but we do, because it does tell us something about them. And it may not be perfect all the time, but it's a very good indicator of some other characteristics. And it's the same with your business. If you're fast, then they're like, wow, okay, I'm noticing. If you're not fast, again, it just tells us a bunch of stuff. I mean, you even think about reliability and trustworthiness is some of the themes I guess we're digging into here. And like an example might be, let's say you're doing project work for a contractor or a builder, and they want you to price some work. Well, the speed at which you price it is actually quite important, because if it takes them ages to get a price and they have to follow you up, then they're thinking, wow, if I use this person and I need to do some variations or some changes, how long is it going to take me to get a price? And how long is it going to take for them to send me an invoice? And how accurate is that invoice going to be? And are they actually up to this at all? Can they organise themselves? And will they make me look bad? And they go through this whole subconscious thought process quite quickly about how good you are based on whether you can actually get there quickly and turn up.
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful, but there's a lot of psychology going on here that you may not be aware of. You might just think to yourself, I'm busy, I'll get to it when I can, and they'll understand. Well, they'll understand that you're busy and that really you're probably not up for it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
what they'll understand.
Yeah, exactly. So should we get into how to actually do this well?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of ways here. And I think the first one, the most important one, probably the easiest one, is respond to inquiries by phone, email, or whatever form they come in immediately. And if you think about response work, if you have put ads out there and you don't answer the phone when it rings or have someone answering it, that's just a massive lost opportunity. You've got to be quick. You've got to pick it up. 3 rings and you're onto it. Or if they're sending emails or messages in, you're responding straight away. That's a massive, massive win.
Yeah.
And if you start measuring how many inquiries turn into jobs, and then you just get quicker at it, you'll notice that goes up significantly.
Yeah.
It's quite crazy.
And I think the thing is, this isn't always easy to do, but there are things that you can put in place that can really buy you some time or make it easier. So, if you have your main line that people call through to, and it's ringing and no one's there to pick it up, it's like, cool, so does it then divert to somebody else's phone? And if that doesn't pick up, it diverts to somebody else's phone. So the likelihood of it getting picked up by somebody increases dramatically, and therefore it's responded, very quickly. Do you have a answer phone service, a messaging service where someone can leave a message, and then is that being checked regularly so you can get back to people very quickly? Is your answer phone, when it leaves the message, does it actually let people know, hey, sorry, we're away from the phone right now, but please leave a message or send an email to this email address and we'll be back to you within X time frame? Don't just have a phone that rings and rings, or a phone that rings and rings and then doesn't go to some kind of service, or it goes to a service and you don't check it. Like, this is all stuff that's going to really kill the speed. So, a lot you can do to make sure that you can get to calls even though you're busy.
Yeah, well, and there's something here that's very important, is that if you're constantly unable to get to calls, that means because you don't have enough people helping you to do this stuff.
Absolutely.
And you'll be like, oh, well, I can't afford to have someone answer the phone. I'm telling you, if you're missing calls, you can't afford not to. It's absolutely destroying the growth of your business because you are just missing money for jam by not being able to answer the phone or field emails.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing this with a client recently. We figured it out. We said, roughly how many calls do you reckon you miss per day? And he's like, probably, I don't know, 4. And I'm like, cool, and what's the conversion rate you have on the calls that you get? He's like, about 50%. I'm like, so you're missing 2 jobs a day? He's like, yeah, what's your average sale? Well, average ticket value is about $500. I'm like, so you're missing $1,000 worth of sales per day? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, so $52,000 a year in just missed calls. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, tell me again how you can't afford someone to answer the phone? And I think the thing with this is those numbers are quite actually easy to figure out. But if you're missing calls, I mean, like, again, because of capacity, then it's like the only reason you can't afford that capacity is because you're missing the calls. So.
And hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's actually worse than that because
way worse.
You're missing those 2 calls, but each of those is 2 clients, and they might have like 4 jobs a year. Yeah. And so it's probably double, triple.
Like, conservatively, it would be double that. Conservatively, and when we do the maths on it, you can really easily see it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's really important. You got to be quick.
Next one is having fixed pricing is unbelievably helpful for this. So if you can give prices over the phone or directly when you're out in the field on site talking to someone then and there and get the job done, signed and sealed then, you will crush it. And this is because people want certainty. They want certainty. If they know what they're up for now, is great. It's much better than doing the job with time and materials as well because they have uncertainty. But just fixed pricing, if you can do that, it'll help so much. And it just makes it easy for you as well.
Yeah. Well, plus, honestly, it builds a lot of trust too because, when you say, I'm going to go and figure out how much this is going to cost, firstly, it takes you some time. And in that time, one way they could be seeing it is the client could be seeing it as, oh, well, you're trying to figure this out so you can get it just right and not overcharge me. Another way is I could see it as you're going away and trying to figure out how to squeeze every last dollar out of this. If somebody goes and says, hey, look, the price is X, and I say, really? You can tell me that right now? Like, what if something goes wrong? Like, no, that's the price no matter what. Then I know what I'm dealing with, rather than dealing with an unknown, which, by the way, if I'm choosing between a known and an unknown, I'll choose the known. So if 4 other people are going to quote the job over next week, but someone can give me a price right now, I'll probably pick the price right now because it's my only actual option. Next thing is there's a lot of trust in that because you've said you're going to stand by that no matter what. So, there's an integrity that's shown just in being willing to do that actually builds a lot of subconscious trust with people. So being able to give that price quickly is crucial. And if you do a job which is more complicated and, you do have a lot of variables and you may need to spend some time pricing it, if you don't have fixed pricing, at least work off a template or a pre-build or something where it's like a good portion of the pricing is relatively systemized. So you can produce that quote very quickly and, again, just really, really shorten that time. It's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, the next ones are interesting. It's about time and it's about creating time in your schedule or your calendar for sales activity or for putting jobs in. So if you need to go to site or go out in the field to actually look at a job, to assess it and price it, then have some slots available in your calendar every week to do that. Don't leave it full and then try and squeeze it in somewhere. And so you can say to the client, hey, Phil, yep, we can do that. I've got Tuesday morning or Thursday afternoon when I can come out and look at that for you. What would work best for you?
Yep.
And just book it in. And you've got those slots there because then you can get it done and rather than waiting 2 weeks to actually go and visit them, which will be a problem because 3 other people are going to get in and look at it. Same thing applies to urgent jobs. It's like, if you have a response maintenance business, then you need time in the schedule where you can respond for maintenance issues, which means every day you need slots available to put stuff in, because if someone's got a job and they can't get in for 3 days, that's a problem. You'll lose them.
Yeah.
And obviously you need to charge them accordingly for that. And if you've got the deal flow, this will work fine. You're probably freaking out, I don't want an empty calendar. But for this to work, you need to have the slots to actually do it. And you might have different rates for same-day service or whatever it is, but you need space. That speed will make a huge difference because other people won't be able to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So next one for me is, again, quote or bid faster than everyone else. So like I said earlier, if you're working off pre-builds or templates, you're able to produce quotes where if you didn't have a fixed price or something readily on hand, you can produce that quote or that bid so much faster than anyone else, head them off at the pass, and just get in before anyone else is there. So this is going to drastically reduce that time. Another thing on this as well is, when you are going through your quoting and bidding process, you can give people estimates of how long it may take before you get the quote back to them. So rather than saying, hey, I'll get this back to you as soon as possible, you can say, hey, I'll get this quote back to you. It should take about a day, or it should take about 2 days. And I think being able to communicate the time for a wait, if there's going to be one, is actually really important. Like, you can learn this from Uber. So once upon a time when people used to catch taxis, there's no worse feeling than you've called the taxi, they say they're coming, you're standing on the side of the road and you're waiting and going, geez, I really hope they come, or a breakdown service in your car, and they're like, we'll be there soon, and you're like, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. Whereas with Uber, the genius thing is they built a GPS system into the app so that when you book your Uber, not only do I know it's booked, but I can see it coming. I know exactly how far away it is. The time is counting down. And so you know what? It doesn't matter how long you have to wait. You don't worry about it because you know how long you're going to have to wait. It's right there on the screen. And so any time seems short because I know what I'm dealing with. And I think that's it, is if you can't price quickly, then shorten it as much as possible and give estimate of the time frame. And that way the wait doesn't feel like a wait. It feels like a met expectation. And so it's a, easy way to do that.
That Uber thing is genius, isn't it? I mean, like,
absolute
it's
genius.
Just so clever. Yeah, and then once you've done your quotes or your bids, follow up lickety split. Like, follow up the same day if you email something. This is massive, and you might be like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm pushy and stuff. It's like, hang on, guys, this is business. It's not tiddlywinks. Like, it's about making a sale, so we need to get in and get busy. And speed with the follow up is critical because, well, one, you want to make sure they've got the quote or the bid, and two, there's never a better time to talk about it than when they just got it. Like, that's their interest as soon as they open. It's not going to get higher. Like, it's there. It's in front of them. So if you can strike while the iron's hot, solve any problems they might have, and what you're trying to do is get the thing locked in and booked in before anyone else has a chance to put a quote in.
Yeah,
and you can do that more often than you think.
Yeah, and for those of you that are listening and you think, isn't that a bit weird though? Like, I've just sent the quote, it's gone through with the bid, it's gone through today, and I'm already following up. Easy way to get around that. Just say, hey, I'm just calling to make sure that you received it. And hey, while I've got you here, have you had a chance to look yet? No, that's cool. Hey, why don't you pull it up and we can go through it together and just make sure there's no questions or anything. It's a really non-threatening, easy way just to get on the phone with them straight away. Because if you say, hey, have you looked at the quote yet? They're like, damn, man, you sent it like an hour ago. Whereas if you're saying, hey, just checking you've got it, wanted to make sure it came through to your inbox and it's not in the junk or anything like that, they're like, oh, no, that's cool, it's right here. And then your conversation's off.
Yeah, so that's huge. And then wrapping around all of this is, if you want this to improve, you actually have to measure it. To be fast, you have to measure it because then you can figure out how fast you are or how fast you're not, and how that's affecting the success of what you're doing. So you can measure things like, well, how long does it take us to respond to inquiries? How long does it take us to get a quote out? How long are we following up? And then look at the actual success rates you're getting.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is your conversion rate. And there's multiple conversion rates. It might be how many of our inquiries turn into a quote, how many of our quotes turn into a job. And you can measure all of that and see where it is. And by measuring it, then you can see, well, how am I going? And if you make changes to the speed, you can see how that improves things. Because I can tell you what the most frustrating thing to do as a coach and a person who works with thousands of businesses is when they do something that works and then they stop doing it because it works because they don't realize how well it works.
Yeah.
Because they ain't measuring it.
Yeah, well, I think with the measurement as well, it just comes to mind. I had a client based in up in Auckland. He sells bathroom renovations, so that's the business. And he was having a lot of trouble converting quotes. And what we did is we took a sales process and we looked at the conversion percentage from each step to the next step. And what we did is we figured out that there was 1 or 2 steps where a lot of people dropped off. And then what I asked him to do is I said, can you tell me the average amount of time that lapses between each step to the next step? Sure enough, the ones with the biggest time lapse were the ones where everybody dropped off. And I said, all I want you to do is see if you can shorten those, if you can half the time that goes in between those steps. He went from having sold no bathrooms in 6 months to selling 9 bathrooms the month after we did that. So, I mean, literally, this stuff is like rocket fuel. It's just down to that. He was just losing people based on they didn't know where he went. So, I mean, measurement is the key, because then you know where to look to improve. Whereas if you just try to improve everywhere, it's too hard. You know, you start with the losers. That's the whole point.
This is. I know there's a lot of things we're talking about here, and if you're listening, you might be like, "Flippin' heck, I've got so much to do, and where do I start?" Well, you choose one thing and just work on that. This is really just giving you some options to work on. Choose one and optimize that, because that will make a big difference.
Yeah, that's right.
I can remember early days, a concrete contractor, Peter was his name, Kathy was his wife, and he was like, I don't have any jobs, I need to do some marketing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. How many quotes have you got out there? Oh, I've got 9 quotes for driveways out there. Okay, well, how many of them you followed up? Oh, I don't follow up. So like we talked about how to do that, and 2 days later I ring up, he's got 5 jobs.
Yeah.
By following up.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
and so you just focus on the bits, which is massive.
Yeah.
So lots of ideas here. I think the thing is, doing this stuff does require a little bit of planning and thought, and it is about building a team. You know, because you're like, well, I'm busy already, and the people who really crush sales, they actually have team helping with this. You know, they have customer service reps or admin people, receptionists answering the phone,
Schedulers.
so it's quick. They have schedulers, so it's quick.
Estimators,
so it's quick.
Yep.
Pricing person, so it's quick. And you don't have to do all of that at once, but capacity and the ability to get things done is a big part of success here. So I know that it's challenging. It's like, well, okay, Tony, you're telling me to spend money on all these people. I can't afford to do that, like yada, yada, yada. How much is it going to cost me? And a big thing with sales is actually understanding that there's a difference between cost and investment.
Yeah.
And you actually have to invest in your sales process to make it fast, so you can win and crush it.
Yeah.
Because if you are fast, you will crush it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we said earlier, usually the reason you can't hire the person to make it faster is because you're not making any sales. And if you had the person, you'd be making a bunch more sales, and that person pays for themselves in spades. So it's almost always that way with capacity. And again, I wouldn't say hire 10 different roles all at once, but I'm like, again, it's why the measurement's key is, you know, picking the one which is going to make the biggest difference and making that change in terms of capacity and getting the win from it, and then you can look at the next area.
Well,
so
it
I think
might
that's
even,
very important.
it might even be that you know, you've got some existing people in your business that you could delegate something to, like quote follow-ups. You might be like, well, actually, I've got a office manager who's been with me for a while, understands a bit of this stuff. Actually, if I could get that person to follow up, you know, 4 quotes a day, then I wouldn't have to do it. Now, you may do a better job at it. You may not, actually, but at least if they do it, it gets done.
Sometimes it's even just as simple as actually making it someone's job. So you got a particular client in mind, and they got 4 people that sit around in the office, so, you know, doing various jobs, and they have one phone, and when the phone rings, it's just whoever picks it up is the one that picks it up. And they were missing all these phone calls, and I said to them, then can you just make it one person's job, and they're the only person that picks up the phone? And sales went up like 20% the next month, and I asked him why, and he's like, well, we've never had so many inquiries. And I was like, really? Or are you just actually picking the phone up for once rather than standing there like that Spider-Man meme where they all point at each other? You know, it's like, once it was somebody's job, they actually did it rather than everybody thinking, oh, someone else will get it. I mean, I remember back when landline phones were a thing, and the phone would ring in my house, and every single person in the house would be like, not me, you get it, no, you get it, oh, no, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then next thing the phone stopped ringing, and everyone's like, no. But, you know, this really happens in your business, and I think sometimes it's as simple as just making it someone's job.
Yeah, it is. So resourcing people is a big thing. Having a process is a huge thing. So sales is a process, and there are a set of steps. And so mapping that out, even just getting a flow chart and saying, well, my first step is managing inquiries, and my next step is scheduling the small jobs, and the next step is scheduling the site visits, and the next step is doing the quote, and then it's sending the quote, then it's the follow-up. So you've got a box for each part, and then within that box you have the process. So it might be a phone script, and you should have scripts and templates for all of this, so that people know what to do and how to do it. It makes it really simple. People can get trained really quickly, and then the technology is important too. So it's the right software, the right CRM software, it's the right dialing software, it's the right phone system.
Yeah.
All this stuff makes a huge difference. The right system for pricing, like, if you want to do this fast, you need a jobbing system or a field software, because otherwise this is, doing it by spreadsheets. Okay, you can do it. It's better than doing it by hand.
Well, you're probably doing it by feel if you don't have a job management software, to be fair.
It still sucks doing it by a spreadsheet versus a job management system, which is simple and fast, which is what this is all about.
Absolutely. Not to mention you can create automations and things off the back, so your lead time for getting back to people goes right down because it just happens in the time frame you want it to happen. It's automated. So there's lots you can do with it to leverage technology.
So I mean, if you're struggling with getting enough work, have a really hard look at your sales process and figure out where you can make it faster, because I can guarantee you that will get you more jobs from the leads you're coming in. 100% guaranteed.
Yeah, 100%. All right, should we land this plane?
Let's do it. So speed is the secret weapon to getting more yeses from your clients. Now, speed means you can get the job done before others have had a chance, and for larger jobs, it demonstrates competence and capability and reliability, which helps you get the job across the line. So it's time to get busy getting fast. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.